Okay, so on the Kuta worksheet for factoring trinomials, we're doing problem number 2. And problem number 2 is saying to factor n squared minus 11n plus 10. So I would start off with the box, right? And I would fill it in as much as I can. So what do I know about this box based on the quadratic that they just gave me? So the n squared and the 10 go inside the box. N squared goes in the first box, and positive 10 goes in the last box. What else do I know? That you have two n's. You have an n here times n gives you n squared. Okay? Now, what I need is two numbers that go here and here that would multiply and give you 10. So I need factors of 10. What are some numbers that multiply and give you 10? 2 times 5, 1 times 10. Anything else? No, that's it. And then you ask yourself the question, which one of those gives you a sum or a difference of 11? And don't worry about the negative yet. All I need is a sum or a difference of 11. 1 and 10, right? Because 1 and 10, when you add them, it gives you 11. So I'm going to put, and I don't care where, I'll put the 1 here and the 10 here. Right? Well, if I make them both positive, right? Positive 1, positive 10, when you multiply them, it gives you positive 10. But when I add them, positive 1 and a positive 10, that gives me a positive 11, and that's not a positive. It's a negative. So both of them are going to have to be negative. Both of them will have to be negative. Because when you multiply two negatives, negative 10 times negative 1, that gives you a positive 10. Okay? So now let's fill in the box and see if it does give us the correct answer. So n times negative 1 is negative 1n. And negative 10 times n is a negative 10n. And when you combine these two, what does it give you? Negative 11, and that's what I wanted. So check it off. Make sure that it does give you what we said it gives you. Okay? And then go ahead and write down the factors because you are done. So what are my factors? N minus 1. N minus 1 and n minus 10. And that's your answer. So what is it that you need? You need to make sure that you make the box. And you need to make sure that you write this extra information down. You need factors, and then you need to know which one gives you a sum or a difference of the middle term, whatever the middle term is. And don't worry about the signs until the very, very end. Let's work another problem out. Let's do problem number 3 on the Kuta worksheet. Problem number 3, we are to factor m squared plus m minus 90. So again, we start with the box, and we fill in as much as we can of the box before we start thinking of numbers. So what inside the box do I fill out? The first term and the last term, right? Don't worry about the symbol yet. I mean, we can put it there. We're going to put it there, but don't worry about the negative yet. Just think of a 90. Just 90, positive 90. I'm going to put m squared here. I'm going to put negative 90 here. But again, don't worry about the negative until the very end. So I also know that m times m gives me m squared. So I would put m here and m here. So if you think about it, I already have half of my factors already done. I know that it's going to be m and something, m and something else. And it's going to be either a plus or a minus. Okay, so your question needs to be, what are the factors of 90? Don't think about negative, just 90. So give me some numbers that multiply and give you 90. Let's start with the smallest numbers, like 1 times 90. What else? 2 times 45. 3 times 30. 5 times 18. 5 times 18. And 9 times 10? Are those the only ones? 6 times 15? Well, let me put it back. 6 times 15 and 9 times 10. That's it? Okay, out of that list, now that I made a list, I need to know which one gives you a sum or difference of what number. What is the middle term right here? This is a 1, so I need something that gives me a sum or a difference of 1. So which one of these will add or subtract to give you a 1? That's the question. Which one of these gives you a sum or a difference of 1? 9 and 10. 9 and 10. The difference of 9 and 10 is 1. All the other ones, if you start adding them, okay, or subtracting them, none of those will give you 1. So the only one that gives you a sum or a difference, in this case a difference of 1, would be 9 and 10, if you subtract them, right? So I'm going to put a 9 here and a 10 here, and now we need to start worrying about the symbols, okay? They need to multiply and give me a negative 90. That means one of these two is going to be negative. Because they can't both be negative. If they're both negative, that should have been a positive. So one of these two is going to be negative and the other one's going to be positive. And also think that whenever you add or subtract them, when you get the sum or difference of them, it needs to give you a positive 1. So which one needs to be positive? The biggest number, right? If your answer is a positive 1, then the biggest one needs to be positive so that it can take the sign of the bigger number. If not, you just start playing around with it and see which one does. But when you put them in the calculator, let's go ahead and put that in the calculator. If you put positive 9 plus a negative 10, that gives you a negative 1. I don't want a negative 1. But if I do negative 9 plus 10, oops, negative 9 plus 10, can't do this. Hold on, guys. Technical difficulties. Okay, so if I do negative 9 plus positive 10, that one gives me the positive 1, so that's the one that I need. And when you multiply both of those, negative 9 times positive 10, it gives you that negative 90 that you needed. So then we would make the 9 negative and the 10 positive. And let's finish it out. When you multiply m times negative 9, that's a negative 9m. When you multiply 10 times m, that's a positive 10m. And when you combine those two, it gives you a positive 1, which is what we wanted. So go ahead and check that off. And then put your answer at the bottom. So that would be m plus 10 and m minus 9.